Welcome to the Speedway Chat Show hosted by Jerry Sims and Wilbur Hancock. We would like to say a massive thank you to all our partners that make the show possible. Make sure you like, comment, and share our videos. It helps get Speedway in front of more people. It's really easy to find our podcast. Just say, "Hey Alexa, play Speedway Chat Show podcast." Enjoy, buckle up, and get ready for an awesome ride.
Hey guys, it's Monday afternoon and we have another Speedway Chat Show. It's weird saying Monday afternoon. Normally it's Wednesday. So yeah, Monday afternoon, we are here. Got another great show for you. Before we start, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to SP2A Speedway for all of their help with all that advertising and all of that. And also all of the guys that have helped with our bike build. So we've got Andy Smith. I'm going to forget someone now, aren't I? Richard Cotton, Grant Henderson.
Polishing guy.
Matt Sewell,
there you go.
Polishing dude. Jatta Construction is a new one that's just started helping the other day. Ashtec, GM Engines. Everyone who has helped is amazing. I've had a couple of conversations. In fact, I haven't even spoke to you about it, Wilbur, but I've had a couple of conversations this week with Neil Vatcher and Rob Painter on who's going to win the bike and how we're going to draw that. So that's really exciting. For anybody that doesn't know, that on Sunday there is a Grass Track Banter Promotions have put on a Grass Track event. It's online only, no spectators, and I'm going to be doing the live stream for that meeting, so that's going to be a good one. They got a great lineup. Check out Grass Track Banter. Those boys are really pushing it, and they're doing a really good job. I'm really, really stoked. I can't wait to actually get to that event and make it happen and get some circles spun in the UK. What's been happening with you, Wilbur?
You know what? It's the same old pretty much. Just had another race last weekend. Went decent. New track. It was fun. It's
beat any girls?
What was that?
Did you beat any girls?
Oh, there was no girls racing, luckily. Dude, I would have got my ass kicked otherwise. No, but it's been great. Dad just got home on Saturday evening there, so got some new Magic and Oski merch. Quite nice. It's comfortable, so thanks to him. It's been fun. Looking forward to today's show, and yeah, that's really all I can say.
Yeah. So if you want to get your questions in the comments and just let us know. Thomas actually isn't on the show. We heard this morning he wasn't feeling great, but he's going to be watching the show. So get your questions in. We have got Tomasz Gaszynski. He's going to answer all of your questions. He said he pretty much thinks he knows everything that happened and could answer honestly.
We've been talking with him before the show, and I think Jerry said, he's like, "Oh yeah, one time I met Thomas in I think 97 or something," and then Jerry mentioned the location, and then Thomas was like, "Oh wait, no, that was 98." I was like, "You remember that?"
Yeah. And then I just put up a photo as well, and I was like, "What about this photo?" And he went, "That's 92," and said the meeting exactly what it was. And I was like, "Wow, okay, cool. This guy knows his stuff."
Yeah, we're golden.
So here we go. Should we introduce him?
Yes, let's do it, Mr. Tomasz
Go,
Gaszynski.
Wilbur. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good, thanks. Hello all.
How's Poland at the moment? You guys are in another lockdown at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, with this COVID situation, we're in another lockdown, and we just got to just weather through it. And besides that, the weather isn't looking too good anyway. So we were fortunate this weekend with the weather being a little better, with some Speedway happening. And besides that, same old, exactly like Wilbur mentioned before.
Have you been watching a lot of the meetings?
I've been watching all the meetings. I actually went to one. I went to the First Division 1 in Gdańsk this weekend as well. See it live. It was Rybnik. It was Gdańsk against Rybnik, two teams that are gunning for the elite league, and it was a good meeting. They drew at the end, So it was a very, very tight meeting.
Wow. And I watched Woods versus, what was that?
Wood and Tarnoff.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that was
Tarnoff.
Luke.
That's what it was.
Luke was in that one as well. Luke Becker.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good meeting. It was cool. It was a tight meeting. But
nice
good.
venue.
Very nice venue. It's very similar to something like Gorzov and Torin now with the roof coming over. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good meeting as well.
So, for the fans that don't know, how is Tomasz briefly? Like, how is he now? What's he up to and things like that?
Well, he's health-wise, he's as best as he can be. Of course, he's doing rehabilitation and doing everything to stay as fit and as good as he can be. And he's doing a lot of the commentating. He's an official Canal Plus expert, TV expert. So he's commentating with that, and that's been pretty busy. So he's still on top of the Speedway game. He's involved with it. He's also director of the club here in Bydgoszcz at Bologna. So that's keeping him also in the game.
It's very nice to hear that he's doing decent health-wise. You know, it's been such a rough journey, and you would not think that after such an amazing career like that, it would end off doing something like that, which he's been struggling for almost like 4 years now, I think.
Yeah, it is 4 years. It'll be 4 years in a few days, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really unfortunate, but in saying that, all the big accidents like that are all unfortunate. So if it's either at the beginning of your career or at the end of your career, they're always unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but he's in good spirits now. You know, he's all
definitely
all
better.
He's
better spirits, and like I said, he's keeping busy being commentator on TV, and as well being the director of sports for the club here at Bologna Bydgoszcz.
It's really good to hear. I mean, since then, has he been doing a lot of what type of rehabilitation has he been doing?
He's doing a lot with his physiotherapist. They're doing the massaging and keeping his muscles as much active as it can be. He goes to the hospital a lot for the first checkups. It's stuff that people with that kind of disabilities have to do on a regular basis, day in, day out, and it's something to keep the body as well and fit as can be. And then hopefully in the future, or the sooner the better, obviously, but hopefully in the future, there will be some kind of medicine to be able to help people who have spinal cord injuries.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
That's what we're all hoping for.
Yeah. Didn't he end up going to like China or something like that for rehabilitation?
Yes, he's been to China. He's been to the States. He's been to many places with different treatments, either normal treatments and or experimental treatments. So whatever is out there, he's trying. So he's not giving up, just like he always did on Speedway all around the world, and now in life with his treatment, he never gives up. So that's one good aspect of the thing that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a warrior. I mean, just off and on and off the track, no matter where you would meet him, it was absolutely crazy. And I mean, just hearing his story now. From when after the accident happened and what he's been doing, just trying to get better and better every day, is it really motivates you to just wow. I mean, you don't give up, right?
That's it. Never give up. That's definitely his credo.
Yeah, that's true. Jez, are you there? Yeah, no, your audio is gone, Jez. Yep, nope, you're gone. Yeah, no, we've been looking for a few videos, and it's been really cool to watch old videos like that. I mean, you just see his style develop from at a younger age to like to the really recent days. But to when is his last race? 2015 or 16?
Actually, to be honest, it's 2016.
2016. There you go. You're there now, Jez.
2016 was his last race. He was supposed to start the 2017 season. And on the day was the debut of the Elite League, and he had to crash on the same day. He was riding motocross, and then in the afternoon he was supposed to race Speedway.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so, I mean, life just for practice and
stuff?
Yes,
he actually started from motocross. That's where his beginnings were, motocross and then road racing. Obviously, this was a different era, different time. This was Poland in the communist era, so neither of those sports were either popular or had any profits or any chance to go forward. So he started with motocross and went to road racing, and then obviously the only other sport that was in Poland that had any chance of evolving was Speedway, and that's where he went into Speedway, and he was in there ever since. But his passion was always motocross.
Wow, I mean, I can see that in his starting style as well with the two fingers and stuff. There's a couple things, and my dad constantly, all the time, honestly, mentions his starting style and how tall he was. Just the way he would like attack the bike right as he dropped the clutch and stuff. No matter who he teaches now with starts, he would always mention Tomasz, which is really cool to listen to, and all the things he says, and then you go back and watch these old videos and stuff, you're like, oh wow, that's actually very true.
yeah, that is true. Tomasz had a very good feel for his equipment, and he always adjusted the bike to obviously to his riders, which all the riders do. But sometimes there's riders that have to go, for example, at a full throttle, full space, do a proper practice start. For example, if we're talking about starts, to be able to feel if the bike is pulling, if it's going the way it should be. Whereas Tomasz always, especially on the Grand Prix when we had the practices, your dad would always sit next to me. I was clocking times and stuff like that, and Tomasz would always go out and he always do these Mickey Mouse starts where he just lightly turn on the gas and he dumped the clutch, and it was like ball pulling, and you're thinking to yourself, what kind of start was that? But he knew what he was looking for. And I remember when Jason was always sitting with me, Crumpy, he'd always sit next to me as well, and he'd say, "That's just, I mean, why do something like that?" I said, "Trust me, he knows what he's looking for."
Yeah, no, and all of them are looking at him like, "What is he doing?" But really, at the same time, they're going like, "Crap, I know he's up to something."
That's it. And he'd always.
Do you know what he was looking for?
He was always looking for how the bike was pulled forward, and obviously the way, because Thomas's riding style was very similar, I would say, to. Well, obviously his mentor was Hans Nielsen, so he always try to do as much or perfect his riding style to Hans. And you see the early ridings up until '99 when Hans was still riding, especially the Grand Prix heats where they're together. You pick up some of those heats, you can see when they're starting, they look like two twins, literally going into the corner, the way their legs are placed, the way their body movement is. So Tomasz would always do that, and Thomas's riding style was similar to, I think, obviously Hans's, and I would say another rider was Lee Adams. Their riding style was they didn't like spinning bikes; they liked bikes that would die, but the tire would be collecting a grip and just keep pulling forward.
Wow! Now, when you say that, like really, really similar to Hans, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
When you say that.
Sure. Obviously, the times have changed, and I think the engines have changed, where it makes that much more difficult to be able to ride that way. In the day, they had long stroke engines, so I think it was a little easier. Tomasz' riding style was a give and take. It was either if you got it dialed in, unstoppable. But if you didn't get it dialed in, you're gonna get beat on a regular basis. So it was sort of a 50-50 with him.
Yeah. Someone just put here that explains the mud guards.
Yeah. I don't know that, but
yeah. So
oh, you mean the mud guards, the colors? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm with you. Yeah, exactly. Tomasz is the mud guards. He copied that to a T from Hans. Exactly.
There we go. That makes sense.
Yeah. So all the, like he started doing all the things where they did the starts, and then they'd have the mechanic with the second bike and all that sort of stuff. Was that a mental thing, or like was he messing with the other riders, or was he genuinely?
Tomasz was always
decided whether or not he was on that bike.
No, Tomasz was, like I said, when I mentioned before, Tomasz was a guy who always felt the bike very, very well. He was always looking for perfection. Sometimes that actually didn't work to his advantage, because sometimes he had been working very good. But he was always, I'll fix it a little more. I'll change the jet. I'll up the timing. I'll do something a little. I'll drop a tooth or whatever. And sometimes with the exact opposite, and then you'd lose a point, which was an easy heat. Let's say, if I don't, there's easy heat, but easier heat, where we were expecting to win that heat, and then he'd lose it because he overset or overcorrected the setup. and then we're losing points, and that's why sometimes in the semis or in the final you couldn't have gate positions or gate choices. So that sometimes didn't work to his advantage. Having 2 or 3 bikes, he would always do practice starts because he'd set 2 bikes up differently, go out, do a practice start, and he knew if that bike was working or not for him. A perfect example of that is we had an awful meeting World Cup. I think we're talking 2007 or 2009, where his whole night was just this one big disaster. And the way that the program was set up, he was in the last heat. It was a last heat decider. Australia and Poland were tied, and he had no choice the whole night. He couldn't get the setup right. And Kasprzak just came back from a heat. He won his heat, and said, "Thomas, take my bike." And Thomas goes out. Last heat decider. We're tied for Australia. Lee Adams is out in the heat. I don't think he dropped a point. Maybe he dropped a point, or basically unstoppable. And Thomas does a practice start, looks back at the pits, and just nods his head. "Yeah, I got this. I got this, guys. It's done." I mean, you take a bike out in the World Cup, did literally a one practice start, and says, "Yeah, we're good. We're good here."
That's wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's pretty cool. So, how did you get involved with Tomasz?
Well, like I said, this is a different era. This was when Speedway was up and coming. Poland was going through big changes with the democracy coming in after socialism. And I was currently living here. I just came into Poland, and a friend of mine, or a friend of my parents, was one of the directors of the club in Poland. And they asked me out for some help, and I started working with the club. Obviously, Tomasz was the young upcoming rider then, and we pretty much connected. Started going out together to meetings, and it just worked from then. Obviously, back then his dad was still running the show. He was the let's say the father figure of the team, and then over time his dad went sort of to the sidelines, and then I helped more, took over more of the other things involved with the whole team, and we've been together for 25 years.
Wow. I remember walking through the Bydgoszcz Hotel. I think it was I'm guessing 2012. Does that sound about right?
Okay.
Was that
could be?
Okay. I think it was World Cup in Bydgoszcz. Is this right?
Yeah, I think 2012. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the elimination rounds.
Yes, exactly. I think it was a race off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were walking through the hotel, and then I see Nikki, or not Nikki. It was Nikki walking in right behind Tomasz, and then Tomasz actually turned out and walked out of the hotel, and then Nikki came in and was like, what was that? And then Nikki walks away, and then all of a sudden I see Tomasz walking in with a girl like right next to him, and my little brother Bill goes, "Oh, Tomasz has a girlfriend." And then he like walks through the hotel, and then I was like, "Oh, Tomasz has a girlfriend." And then my mom was like, "Tomasz," and he was like, what? And then they said something like, "You have a girlfriend?" And he was like, "Oh," and just started laughing. It was like the most funny and random thing ever. He like caught him off guard too.
Sure, exactly. That was he did have that was his new girlfriend. She's still with him, which is a good thing. She's a fantastic lady who's been with him through thick and thin. Now obviously with his disability, so she's a star. She's a star.
That's awesome.
Helping him
That's
out
so cool
with all his everyday items and things he's got to do.
Exactly, and it's a similar thing with Darcy Ward and Lizzie.
And Lizzie,
yeah, exactly. She's been through so much too. I mean, it's awesome to have someone like that with you by your side, and you know that no matter what, that person's going to be there to help me out no matter what, and you can figure it out that way, you know.
Exactly. I think half of the success of being in a situation like that, like both Darcy or Tomasz or any other person who has any other disability like that, is your right hand person who's with you through thick and thin. Your life partner.
Exactly. When you have that rough day, you can come home and be like, that sucked. You know, next day's better.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. I was good friends with, do you remember Lawrence Hare when you guys were at Ipswich?
I do remember Lawrence Hare. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Lawrence is a good friend of mine. Me, and my girlfriend, we went to pick up a new car in Ipswich last week, and I went and dropped in and seen Lowell and Dewey in their back garden. And yeah, I mean, I remember when Lowell had his accident, you know, he met his partner after his accident, so she only ever knew him as Lawrence in the wheelchair, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know, she never knew him as the guy that was racing on TV and all the rest of it. Like, you know, I think it's really cool and quite humbling that, you know, that's the situation. But right, what we got here?
When I was a start marshal for Hammarby Speedway in Sweden, Thomas was the kindest rider he ever met. Especially when coming up to the tapes, he'd always had time for me. Remarkable man, and now he's winning the biggest race.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Nice comment. Yeah. We did Hammarby, I believe, last 2 years of his Swedish career. That was his last club he rode for. 2011.
Which years were that? Oh, that was the last years you did Sweden.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was in Sweden for a longer time than that.
No. 2011 and 12. And
was
then 13 pulled out the Swedish League and the Grand Prix as well. No, sorry, 13 he did the last year of his Grand Prix.
And then he did a wild card in 2015.
That's it for the one in Warsaw, the first one in Warsaw.
Which was a disaster.
One, the disaster one, the one that the tapes didn't work. The track was
horrible.
Exactly. Not the way to go out. Not the way to go out.
And the first ever race in Warsaw too.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. The
new stadium. Wow.
So how did Thomas get on with Craig Boyce?
This is the old Craig Boyce one again. You know what? In all fairness, that one we've talked about that one so many times. Luckily, the guys they've come to terms. Obviously, they're older, they're more mature. They've talked through that situation so many times over. Even after, I think it was after that, even that Grand Prix, Boise was still in the Grand Prix. I think for 2 seasons, whatever it was. They would talk, whatever. I think it was just, in all fairness, Thomas. Nowadays, when you look at Speedway, there's so many different nations riding. If you look at the Speedway of old, from let's say the 60s, 70s, 80s, coming up. If you think about it, Speedway was a 5-nation sport. It was a 3 English-speaking countries: Australia, America, and Great Britain, and 2 Scandinavian, Denmark and Sweden. And basically, if you look at all the world championships, maybe 1 or 2 riders would qualify from, I don't know, West Germany or Finland or something like that. But very rarely, most of it, 95% was those 5 nations. And Thomas was this guy from some country, they didn't know where it was, Poland, and he's making his mark in the sport. And I think it was that much, I don't want to say easier, but it was much more difficult for them to accept Thomas. He wasn't a guy you'd go out with after a meeting, have a beer. He didn't drink. The language barrier was a huge factor. And at the beginning of his career, the cultural differences were so much different. Now we're all laid back and we know each other and we race in so many different leagues. It's normal. Where his dad in the past would teach him that, everyone at the tapes is your rival, and I wouldn't say your enemy, but someone you can't commute with or communicate with. You can't be friends with them. And I think in that aspect, that's the way he was perceived by the other riders. And I think that made it that much easier for him to sort of, I'm not saying treat him bad, but not accept at the beginning of his career. And that's, I think, where the situation with Boise came out. I don't think Boise would do that to any of the other riders if they did the exact same maneuver on the night. But it happened to Thomas, and luckily, like I said, the guys talked it over, and it was all swept under the rug, and it's past. It's in the past, so that makes it that much, I guess, better. With time, obviously, the language barrier went away. Thomas got more accepted. Thomas became more open to riders, more friendly, and I think that was one of the last riders that was sort of on the sidelines and not accepted. Whereas now we're all in the Grand Prix, we're all mates, and especially nowadays, teams even they change from rider to rider, from season to season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the way you put it like that makes it kind of puts it into more of a perspective in a way.
Sure. I understand it's harder for some of the younger people to understand those different situations, but it was a different. The older people will understand it was a different era, and you can ask your dad or whoever. In those times, it was different. The foreigners, they came to Poland. They looked at Poland like a third world country. Even Poland's evolved and changed over the years. Look at they're in the EU. Everything's more colorful. Everything's open. There's no borders and stuff like that. Whereas Tomasz came, he was raised in that old communist style, and I think that's, like I said before, that's where he was sort of sidelined from all the other riders after the meetings.
And how was that? At the beginning of his career, how difficult was it coming from that country? Was he traveling around Europe, or like how did he get his big break?
You know what? The big break. I think it wasn't a big break. It wasn't something that he did one thing that made his career. I think it evolved. Not only Tomasz as a person or Tomasz as a rider, Poland, Europe, everything all together at that time evolved. Poland became open, no borders, or over time the borders opened more and more. Tomasz became a more and more open person, and all those things together, I think, like I said, they evolved as a whole. I remember times when we started riding in the Swedish League. This was '97. There were still borders, and Poland was just an up and coming new democratic country. The Swedish officials, every time we'd land, we'd go by ferry in his car. He had a Mercedes. They couldn't get over the fact that a 23-year-old kid is driving a brand new AMG Mercedes is coming from Poland week in, week out. What are you doing here? This sounds dodgy. What's a 23-year-old going back and forth? He's either a drug dealer and every week in, week out, they pull us to the side, tear the car apart. They were always looking for something. They check VIN numbers. The car's got to be stolen. Just things like that.
That's crazy to think about. If you and then you realize oh yeah, that does make more sense when you put it like that too.
Yeah. So have you got any crazy travel stories?
You know what?
Said one about Sweden.
Do actually. Sure. Well, I got one actually regarding in Sweden. This is '97. Tomasz is riding for Hagfors, which is the most northerly placed club in Sweden, way north. It's really, really far away north from the ferry, which is in Karlskrona. It's about 650 kilometers, and we'd always take the ferry on Monday, get there roughly 7:30 in the morning, and then it's at least a 6-hour drive up to Hagfors. And he left we'd have some of our stuff there, but usually we take the passenger car, and we'd have in a small C-class. He would have his one bike. Always we'd take it apart, take it there, and put it together before the meeting. If we got to the ferry at 7:30, the port at 7:30, we'd have plenty of time to do that. And one of these times we had a situation where there was a huge storm. A huge sea storm. And the ferry was delayed by at least 5 or 6 hours. So we were there at 7:30 in the morning. We were out there around 12:30. We get to the ferry. They put all the ropes and stuff in place, and they can't open the front doors because they were bent out of shape. So they can't put the ramp down for the cars to leave the ferry. That takes another 3 hours. So it's roughly about 2:30. So 2:30, 3 o'clock. So we're 4 hours away from the meeting, and we called the management and Hagfors, say, listen, this is a situation. It's not our fault. We're at Karlskrona. What do you want us to do? And he said, they said, I think it's over. I looked at Tomasz, and Tomasz says, you know what? Fuck it. We'll try to make it. You got a C-class AMG. We're doing through all of Sweden, at least 220 clicks, nonstop. The village, city, whatever, just full gas all the way through. And then they call us every 15 minutes, and we'd go from village to village, and then we'd say, we're at this place, and you can just hear in the background, ooh. 15 minutes later, where you guys? We're here now. Ooh. And we made it literally 15 minutes before the meeting. Thomas got changed. We were with the mechanic. He put the bike together, and Thomas went out, and I think 14 points on the night.
Wow.
That was a wild one.
And the bike wasn't even together when you pulled up?
No, because he had a C, like I said, he had a small C-Class Mercedes that he had in the back of his boot. So we had the engine apart, the chassis, 2 wheels apart. By the time you have put together, they need at least half an hour there. So there's like 2-3 mechanics scrounging around, putting the bike together. Thomas was getting changed. Just looked at the track, said this and this setup, and away you went. So,
wow.
I think Thomas was one of those riders. One of those Speedway riders, I think, that liked pressure. I think the more pressure he had on him, the better he went.
I mean, that does make sense because, I mean, there's been so many situations where it's like, there's no way he's going to be able to get this now. And all of a sudden, everyone else is like nervous too because they're like, what if he gets this? Then he wins this. And he just goes out there and just destroys them. You're just like, oh, all right, never mind. It's over.
That's it.
If anyone's
Yeah,
I was going to say, if anyone's going to pull it out of the bag, it would be Thomas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. We had so many situations where at the Grand Prix, I said, listen, Thomas, we need 1 point to make the semis or something. And it was the easiest heat. He had the best gate. Of course, he'd come fourth. Then there'd be situations where it's the hardest heat of the night with the best riders, and he's off of gate 3, which no one's won off of. I said, listen, Thomas, slim to no chances. We're not going to make it. What do I need? You need to win this one. Boom, he wins it.
Wow.
So.
It's interesting.
I discovered Thomas in 2012 on YouTube. His intense passing on the outside is exciting as Becker and Kelly Moran's handicap wins. How tall is he, and did he modify his bike for his height?
That's a good question.
That's a good one. He's about 178, 180 centimeters. I don't know what that is in feet.
But probably around 6'1".
Okay. And no, he didn't modify his bike. His bike was a standard, just a Jawa frame. No changes.
Did he have a taller seat on it?
Pardon me?
Did he have a taller seat on it?
Later on in his career, yes, he went a little taller, but to a higher seat. But I think that was more to do with, to be honest, with comfort, not because of the seat, not because of the riding position.
I think that he had to adjust his style once the bikes turned into more of a predictable type of bike. Because I remember in the old upright days, my dad telling me just how unpredictable the bike could be sometimes, and that you wanted to be on the front of it because you could relax a little bit and things ding skyrocket, you know.
That's it.
And then now later in the lay down days, I feel maybe Thomas needed to realize or think of a different way to just maybe get a little more comfortable to be faster at one point, because now for me as well, just getting more comfortable on the bike, like in some of my heats, I feel more comfortable than in others. And the heats that I'm more comfortable in, you would think that you'd be slower in, but I'm actually making ground and going faster.
You know why that is? Why do you think that is?
I mean, I don't know, honestly.
I think it's because once you're more comfortable on the bike, you're not thinking about riding the bike. You're thinking about where to ride it. You're thinking about the track, what you can do with the bike. You're not thinking about the other aspects of it.
That's solid. That's a fair point right there. That makes a lot of sense too now when you think about it, because then instead of just trying to ride it, you're actually figuring out ways to go faster.
It's like being on a push bike. When you know how to ride a push bike, you're not thinking about, okay, I got to pedal, I got to do this. Now what gear do I change? You're looking at, okay, I got to miss this pothole, I got to miss that pothole. Oh, there's a curb, I got to watch the curb or whatever. You're not thinking about the pedaling aspect. So once you're comfortable on the bike, I mean, that's what I think, at least. You're not thinking about riding the bike. You're thinking about where you want to ride it. Okay, let's go for the inside. Let's go for the dirt. Let's go this. Let's pass this guy. You're thinking about the other aspects, which is the important part. That's why you're going faster, because you're hitting the dirt or you're hitting the faster line, because you're able to do it because you're not thinking about the riding.
Wow.
I don't know.
So
I thought, at least.
Do you help anybody now? Like, what are you up to? Do you have any involvement in Speedway at all?
I am involved a little. I'm helping actually the club out a little in Gdańsk, in giving a little tips and helping out in any aspect I can. I'm currently working with Christian Pieszczek, helping him out a little, and I've just this year I'm starting to work with Drew Kemp, an up and coming British rider here in Poland as well.
Cool.
Did you feel like you wanted to stay in the Speedway world after Thomas? Did you feel like you wanted to at least step in and help out more?
Sure. I think not just me, but all people involved who've been involved in any sport or any occupation for 25 years. Once you've learned something for 25 years, I think I'd like to give back more to the sport. I've gotten so much from the sport. I think now it's time for me to give back, and I feel I have a lot of knowledge that why should I keep it for myself? I mean, I'm not gonna put it in the shelves and just keep it for memories. I think it's something that I can help the youngsters coming up through the ranks. If they can use my advice, or if I can, why should they have to wedge open doors that I can open?
Yeah. I've got a friend that he used to have a guy who used to come with him and like mentor him while he's racing, and that the guy that used to help him never rode. It was motocross. He never rode motocross, never. But he could tell him what he was doing wrong, and he could guide him and stuff like that. And it was like there was a brilliant partnership. It just didn't have to come from, an ex-world champion or whatever, like.
Sure.
So yeah. Have you got any advice for Wilbur? He's got real problems in America beating this young girl.
All right. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know Wilbur as a young kid. I've never seen him ride in person, so I don't know. Just take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it's something that's in your mind that it's a girl, and that's why it's hard for you to beat. Don't think about her as a girl. Just think about it as just one of the guys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, Jerry's making a way bigger deal than what it really is.
Okay.
Just a tad bit. It was one heat. It was one heat. It was one heat.
In all fairness, you have the best supporter and the best manager and the best mentor you could have, which is your dad. I mean, he's a rock star, and
he still can't teach me how to. He still can't teach me how to beat a girl, though.
Really? Because he's never beat one, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's got no advice for you.
Right.
Oh my God.
Treat her, just don't think about it. I mean, there's another example. There was some rider, like Thomas, for example, in the Grand Prix. He'd always like to know who he's riding against and what gate they're from. One of the things I would do is I would analyze a lot of the riders and some of even their nicks or their knacks that they would do. I don't know. I'll give you an example. There's riders. I don't know if I should go into names because they're still riding, so I don't maybe want to give up all their tricks. But there's some riders that would get on a bike. They would never put their leg over the bike, for example. They'd have to get on from the back of the bike. There's a rider that before he goes out to his the next seat where he's standing with the red, blue, white, and yellow in the pits, and you're waiting to be pushed out to the track. I know a rider who has to psych himself out by he's got to grab his right thumb with his left hand and hold it for X amount of seconds. He won't go out on the track without doing that, for example. Those are little things, and sometimes if they didn't do it, then I knew that they're not psyched up that much, or they're not in the zone. And I would give that advice to Thomas, and he would know that he'd have to watch that rider more or less. Sometimes it does help at a world-class level. But going back to some of the riders that like Thomas, who'd like to know who he's riding against, maybe go up to the situation where don't think about the riders. Don't think that the girl's there. Just think that, oh, there's three guys I got to beat. And you beat her. Oh, it turns out it was the girl.
There we go.
Wow.
So how was it for you? Obviously, you met Thomas when he was like this.
No, actually older. This is 89. He rode. Here's another past communist time. This was 89. He had changed clubs from Bydgoszcz to Gdańsk. That was his race jacket from Gdańsk. He had to do that because back in those days, all men had to do military service in the Polish army.
Okay.
And we had, or his father had better. Now we can say at different times, better connections with the authorities in Gdańsk than he did in Bydgoszcz. So he changed clubs to Gdańsk so he could do his military service as an active Speedway rider. If he stayed in Bydgoszcz, he'd actually physically have to take 2 years off and do his military service. In 2 years, if you're 18, you're going to miss your junior years, basically. But those were the times. That's the way it was done.
Wow.
So he did 1989 as an 18-year-old. He did his service in Gdańsk for, I think, 3 months, and then they pushed him off into his Speedway career. There was some kind of connections there with the military.
Cool. And what's this one all about?
This one is there's a big open meeting in Gniezno. It's because Gniezno was the first capital of Poland. This was in medieval times. It was the first capital of Poland, and the first king that was crowned, the king of Poland, was Bolesław Chrobry. And now, because Gniezno has a Speedway club and a Speedway track, they made this big tournament, the King of Poland tournament. And this is 2010 when Tomasz won it. That was the year that, I mean, he had a fantastic year that year, where everywhere we went, we were just basically just reeling in those points, and he won that tournament in Gniezno 2010.
Wow, that's the year he won the World Championship too, right?
Yep, exactly.
Wow. Insane.
Did you ever get to a point where you were like, is he ever going to become world champion? Because he was so close for so many years.
Yes,
and
yes.
Honestly, hand on my heart, I thought he'd missed it. You know, I thought when he was in his like prime, late 90s. You know, like he was going good then, and you sort of think, how long is this going to carry on for? There were riders that passed him by, and you know, had their best, and then petered off, and he was still sort of there and thereabouts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did he? I don't think he ever doubted it. He always wanted it. It was always his goal. I personally will have to tell you, I there were times where I said, no, I think this is it. It's not in the cards for us. But luckily, he persisted through. And like I said, 2010, he won the title. It was a slow process because 2000, I think it was 7. He was 4th. 2008, he was 3rd. 2009, he was 2nd. He took every year just one step at a time.
Wow.
So, I think after 2009, when we were so close, I think that this is the year. I think, guys, we can really do it. And I think we all pulled through with his mechanic as well. And having Jan as his tuner, Jan Anderson, we just all pulled together, and it just, everyone knows who's won a world title. It's not one thing. It's so many things that have to fall into place. And that year it just did. Except for, I think, the first Grand Prix in Leszno. He scored 5 points, the very first Grand Prix in Leszno. I said, okay. So I guess it's not in the cards for us. But then after the second Grand Prix in Gothenburg, it just sort of snowballed into place.
Wow. I mean, and it's honestly quite true what you're saying there. Last year, with Smarzik in the first round, he didn't have the greatest first round. Mm-hmm. But then he ended up just after that and started racking up points. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if like Laguda or Magic pulls through with something now, because they did really good in their first rounds.
Sure.
But then you would see, I think it was it Prague where he won both nights?
Yep, that was Prague.
Yeah, so then he went into Prague, won both nights, and I was like, you know what? I hate to say it, but he is most likely going to win now. I think it's over. Like, he's gotten everyone's head. I mean, he passed Ty in the most crazy way possible on one of the nights
sitting
there.
on the back mudguard.
Oh my God. And I was like, yeah, it's over. He's got it.
He's got it. In all fairness, Bartek, he is currently, from all the riders that are at world class level, he is the best riding Speedway rider that I've seen in the last few years. He's, I think the only one that could have matched him in today's times would probably be Darcy.
Yeah.
Darcy would have been able to be on par with Bartek. Their riding styles are different, obviously. Don't get me wrong, but they have that magic where they can make it happen. They pull out tricks out of the hat, just one after the other, like that mudguard.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have some big kahunas to go down a back straight 120 and move your body that much back and then come in the corner. You got it. Yeah. It's a quick move to move not on the seat, but in front of the seat.
But at the same time, you're passing easily one of the fastest guy in the world too.
Sure,
you're not just doing that by practice or something.
Yeah,
you're passing a guy at the same time.
That's it.
Insane.
And what also is good, I think, with Bartek, when he was doing that, I'm pretty sure he's not just, okay, I got to pass him, and then, I passed him. He's already thinking about how I should come into the corner to either block high or do I cut back. He's already got that maneuver in his head before he's going down the back straight.
He probably had that move planned out before he even lined up to the tape.
Sure.
He was like, I'm going to do it, and this is how it's going to work.
Sure. And I think you got to have that. We got to have that planned out, because if you go down the back straight and then you come in, okay, what do I do now? No, it's too late. It's too late. Yeah. You got to.
When has he ever been at a practice session and thought, do you know what? I'm going to sit this far back on the mudguard? Like, to me, I was just like, that's got to be a spare of the moment. Go, I need something extra. Maybe if I park my ass,
I got to get that back wheel to the ground somehow.
Yeah, like insane. It was so cool.
You know what I try to do though? At every end of the practice session, I go out and I just do fun laps, and I just do something stupid. I'll either go in and I'll leg trail, or I end up super far back on the bike, or I'll figure it out. And you don't even have to be going fast to figure it out, because if you get the style down and if you figured it out in the way you want to do it, then the speed comes with time. So, I mean, I would go out and I'd maybe sit back a little too far and it'd pick up, be like, oh, not doing that again. And then you go out and you figure, and then you go out and you stay on the front of it. You're like, okay, I'm spinning, not doing anything here. And you just find your comfort zone that way. And if his comfort zone is on the back mudguard going 120 miles an hour or kilometers an hour down Prague, passing a guy, then sure, do that.
Yeah,
go for it. That's it. That's good. What you do with those fun laps, the practice laps is cool, because when you get caught in a tricky situation, you'll know what to do. So that's very good. You're doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think
usually you guys try to ride it properly, but then what happens when it's not? When you get caught in an off guard situation, or someone knocks you off, or you hit the dirt, or there's some kind of really bad raunchy track that the officials say we're running this meeting, you got to ride on it. Well, then you've already done these trink laps, let's say, or fun laps, and you've already been in a situation like that, obviously with speed differently, but you already know what to do with it. So that's very good.
You were spot on there, because I've talked to my dad so much about this, and he was like, you want to know why Smarzlik does the things he does? Is because he has done laps on laps on laps on laps and does not stop. I think I've spoken about this so many times on the show. It just like, he's been in all types of scenarios at Gorzov, for example, right? He probably could not be able to count as high as many laps as he's done there at Gorzov. I mean, he's gone in so deep and he's ended up way wide, and now you're like, oh, it's over. Never mind. He's probably going in his head like, I was here yesterday.
That's it.
I was doing the same thing yesterday, and I'll pass him now like this.
Exactly. Well, Thomas was always the king of practicing as well. He would love his practice. We had situations where there was a local derby, for example, Bydgoszcz Torun, and Thomas dropped a point. We're talking about the 90s, so he was much younger and very, very ambitious. He was always looking for perfection, and he dropped a point, and he dropped the Polish rider, which was just in the day for him was unacceptable. He was, no, I dropped a point. We just someone beat him, plain and simple. We would come back to the track, and he had his workshop at the track back then, and of course it was nighttime, it was dark. He says, guys, I got to try something. I'm not going to fall asleep. I got to change something with this clutch setup or whatever. But I said, yeah, it's dark. We're not being worth. No, listen. We got to do something. We'd set up cars. We'd all drive our cars on the track, set them up like frontwards towards the track, so looking, facing each other. We turn on our lights, so we have at least the back part of the track, so we could do a few practice starts. He changed whatever he wanted to change on the bike at night. This is 11 o'clock at night. Anyone who's been in Bydgoszcz knows that the track is in town. He didn't care about the people are sleeping or whatever. I got to do 2 practice starts. He changed whatever he had to change. He did 2 practice starts. Okay, yeah, now I know where I made a mistake. And then you could go to sleep. It's just, I mean, like you said, constant practicing. But I guess everyone...
There's a good comment here from Matt Searle, the polishing guru. This guy is God. If you need anyone to polish anything, he's the guy who polishes Ashley's bike, his dad's bike.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy. Apparently Thomas changed a cam during the meeting.
Oh yeah, that was standard situation, changing cams. Thomas even had a situation where World Cup Jarek Hamill's best engine was he lost his the valve seats fell into the engine, and Hamill said, "Okay, I lost my engine, I'm done." He said, "Wait a second, hold on a second. How many heats do we have before you go out?" I got, I don't know, 3. He took apart the engine, put a little thing of magnetic, what do you call it, like a stick to pick up the valve seat, got it out, put it in there, and got to ride his best engine. But changing cams and stuff like that, that was constant. That was a standard for him. Thomas had the biggest toolbox in the pits because it was always full of parts. We have the bottom drawers were always full of parts of things we could change. We'd show up at a venue, and he would constantly be changing stuff. We had there's a front end. I don't know, Wilbur, if you use it or not. Bar makes that front end for the front forks that you can change the angle of the front forks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Emil was the first one to use those, and he saw how well Emil would ride the inside lines constantly. Obviously, it's a little maybe easier for Emil because he's smaller. He's a smaller rider. Because I was always ride a little wide coming out of the corner. But he tried that out the first time in Terranzano, won the Grand Prix, and we'd only do that front end just for Terranzano. We have to always have that part going to Terranzano. We look in the fixture list. Okay, we're going to Terranzano for the Grand Prix. We'd have to take off the front end of that bar just for that track.
Wow.
Yeah.
The things you do.
That's it. Not to mention engines that he would just have just for certain tracks. He had his own. He had his Bydgoszcz Jawa always that he rode, and he won, I think, 5 Grand Prix on the trot in Bydgoszcz. Even after he went to GM. This was, I think, 2004, 2003, 2004. He was already on GMs, but he still had that one Jawa that he run 2 Grand Prix before, and I think 2 or 3 after on that Jawa. And he just after the Grand Prix, we just unclipped the valves so they would sit down. He'd undo them, put them on the shelf, and that engine would wait the whole year. And then we'd wait for Bydgoszcz. He'd get it back from the shelf, put it in the chassis, and away we went.
Wow.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just discovered that Tomasz Gollob is a literal genius. Not only has he won multiple world titles, but he is a genius.
He's this is something I always like to ask people who have won a world title. Where's his world championship trophy?
It's at home. I guess one of the unlucky things with the world title is Thomas was the last rider to not be able to raise that new trophy. Greg was the first one. Mm-hmm. They brought in that brand new, the BSI brought in that new trophy that one of the famous jewelers in England made. Mm-hmm. And Greg was the first one to raise that one. So Thomas still has one that was like a one-off type thing. It wasn't the one that was handed down from rider to rider, even though his name is on the trophy, because all the Grand Prix riders, all the world champions who have won title in the Grand Prix series are on it, but he wasn't the one to be able to lift it. So, but he does have his trophy at home.
Oh, wow! Didn't know if it was like in the shed underneath a load of like old bike parts or something.
No.
Some people have got like
I don't think there's any world champions that keep their trophies like that. No. At least not the world title one.
No,
I don't know. Not. I don't think so.
I've seen Doyley's got his golden helmets all lined up. He's got 3 golden helmets all lined up in his house, and they look pretty cool.
That's got to look really nice. That's the oldest Speedway event in history, and that's one of the tournaments that Thomas never was able to win. He never won the golden helmet.
He never won one?
No, never won one. Never won one.
Wow.
But in saying that, he won the last, which was a classic event. I'm a little disappointed that it's no longer in the fixtures. Maybe it'd be a little more difficult this time around nowadays because there's less nations. It was the Champions Cup. They would do the champions, the national champions of all countries. So you have like the Norwegian champion, the Danish champion, Swedish, British, Australian, etc. And one day they'd meet all the champions of all their nations would meet up for one event, and you're the Champions Cup. And that was the last one was in '93, and Tomas won that one.
Cool. This is I remember.
I was going to say here, World Cup with a bike up in the air on the back wheel in the pits with the head off the engine.
That's it. That's the one with Hamill. He was fixing Hamill's engine. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was just fixing an engine in between races, and he's racing himself. That's just so crazy to me.
Yeah. Like I said, the more pressure for Tomas, the better it was for him.
So I like this photo. I found this earlier. The cutout clearly didn't work.
No, I don't think so. No, he didn't. Definitely. Yeah, that was '92. That was his first national title he won. He was 21 years old, and that was in Nagura.
Wow. And the first thing I noticed was the helmet, and then I realized that he had the old school half mask for the open face helmets. Like,
yeah. Different times.
Yeah. That would scare the crap out of me now.
Yeah.
Riding like that. But so obviously, I mean, I'm sure you're like family with Tomas now. You know, how was it in the day? You know, in the height of everything, and he was a big deal in Poland in those times. You know, was it strange for you because to you he was just Tomas, and then like, you know, I found a photo here where someone's made a Lego of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was actually a Lego display that went all around Europe.
Yeah, like. Mm-hmm. That he's clearly a big deal, you know. But obviously for you, he was just your mate, you know.
Sure, exactly. But like I said, I went through the ranks with him, so I remember when we started together, he was just coming through the ranks. He was just Tomas, and then he grew into superstardom status, and but he always stayed pretty normal because I think people who work hard for their success appreciate it and don't take it for granted. And Tomas was definitely one of those people.
Wow.
Cool. Was there any like? Do you remember like any times where you were like this is a bit strange or something? You know, like where he was recognized somewhere out of place that wasn't Speedway or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, 2012, we were speaking with Wilbur before about the industry city. We did a Monster Energy invited us for an open meeting in California, and after that we had some time off and we went to Universal Studios. And anybody who's been to Universal Studios know you do the tour in this little like a golf cart thing, but with the trailer behind, and you drive around the studio and they show you like the Jaws and all the places where they made all these movies, and all of a sudden we're looking around and there's some kind of scenery like this movie or that movie. I think it was around the Jaws place. And all of a sudden, someone comes out from the bushes, and it's one of the employees or two of the employees that are working for Universal Studios, and they recognize Tomas in the car or in the trailer, and they ran up to him and took a picture and got his autograph. And the people who are sitting next to it, they don't even know what's happening.
No, did they speak Polish or were they just American?
Yeah, no, they're Polish. One of them was American, one was Polish, but they recognized them.
Wow, how crazy is that?
And another one that caught me completely off guard. After we won the title, Tomas took the whole team with our wives. We went to the Dominican Republic for vacation.
Oh wow!
And it was a great 2 weeks, and we enjoyed that. And we're just sitting at the beach, just enjoying it, having drinks, and just chilling. And some local, I don't know, either worker or some employee of the hotel. Tomas has got his little like a cap on, but no sponsors. Just a normal white cap on to keep the sun out of his eyes. He comes up to him and takes his cap off. He says, "Gollob, I recognize you." I don't know, some local guy. You can see the Dominican Republic guy. Says, I watch you on American TV on, I don't know, whatever it's Fast or Two Wheel Tuesday or something like that, some kind of program like that. I've seen you on TV.
No way.
That's funny.
So there is one here about Industries. He said, Thomas seemed unhappy. Myself and several Polish fans wanted to express our love, but he turned his back on us. You said something in Polish. What did you say? How many years ago was that? Probably not going to know.
2013.
12. This is 2012. What
12.
does it say that he was unhappy?
Yeah.
He was unhappy about something, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because, I mean, obviously it was like I said,
a while
Thomas
ago.
goes out to each event. He wants to do as best as possible. And I think just had a bad meeting on that day. Thomas even it was a great meeting, and we were using someone's kit back on that day. I think we just had our letters, and even though it was just a show meeting, Thomas always wants to do the best as he can. I think he had a bad meeting. I think maybe that's why he was a little unhappy.
Yeah, I think some of those riders from overseas, when they came over, they kind of showed up and they're like, "So where's the track?"
Yeah, it was a small track.
Stood on it.
A very small track. Exactly. It was a small track. Yeah. I think Billy Janiro won that one that night. He was on fire that night.
Because then did he? Wasn't Scott Nichols won the next year?
To be honest, I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. We weren't there.
So you guys only came to one of them, right?
Yes, we did the very first one, 2012.
Yeah. Okay, so I think Gennaro won the first one, and then Nichols won the second one. Like a European, Scott Nichols, a European rider, won the second one, which was crazy. He was really good around those smaller tracks.
He was.
Yeah, it was an interesting race because I mean they had Freddie there. He had you guys, my dad, and they had a great turnout for that race as well. Really well.
Yeah, Hans was there. Hans Anderson was there, and I think Anton was there. Antonio Lindbeck.
Yes,
I think so. I'm not sure. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool meeting. I wish they would put on. I wish we could get one of those over again. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. Maybe we could do something. Maybe an idea we could. I mean, I'm just throwing it out here. When we talk about meetings, maybe we should do like there's something we did in the '90s here with Polonia with Bydgoszcz, is an exchange group of young kids. Back then, we did Australian Cup riders that came over, and then the Polish riders would go to Australia for the winter. One of the riders is now the national team manager for Australia, Mark Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of these young 16-year-old riders. I personally picked him up at the airport.
Really?
Okay.
93, 94, something like that. And he came over with a group of young Australian riders, and then in the wintertime, the Polish riders went out there. That's what maybe we do for promoting the sport, is get some of the young riders from Poland or even in Europe over to America for a few meetings, and then vice versa.
I think my dad can argue this fact as well with me. I think America is one of the best places to learn, just because our tracks are so interesting and so small, and you have to know how to turn your bike, and you need to know your bike inside out, because there's so many situations where you can get into where it's like that part of the track is rock hard slick, and now I'm in dirt, like going on the back wheel. Now I need to figure it out. But the thing is that we need a couple more tracks that are bigger and more up to par, so we can get that more experience. Because I know so many riders over there, or that come over there for the World Team Cups or whatever, they go over there and then they just don't get the speed, and they can't figure out the way to get around those really, really big tracks, you know?
Sure.
I think we went to when we went to Bydgoszcz in 2012, it was a tough meeting for us, because it was like Bydgoszcz is easily one of the biggest tracks in Europe. And then we went to, I think Västervik was one of the first rounds, and that's a small one, so we did pretty good there. And then we went to Bydgoszcz, and everyone's like, "Whoa, very big."
That's it. Well, that's what I'm saying with the exchange. With the exchange students, you could do that. The Polish riders, the European riders would learn how to ride small technical tracks, whereas then the American riders would come over here and learn some of the bigger tracks and get some speed coming.
You could easily say that I would like to see Smarls like go around one of these small tracks over here. That'd be very interesting.
To be honest, I think he'd do really well.
He did very well.
I think so, because he's from Gorzów, and Gorzów is the smallest track in Poland, and I think it's the most technical track in Poland.
Probably. And then you could probably throw him on a speedo bike in a grass track, and he would do good. That's the thing.
Sure. I think the one thing that would surprise him is the big sprocket in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you put on like a 63. I don't know what you guys ride in the States, but I think like a 63 at least.
We run at the Costa Mesa track, Orange County Fairgrounds. We can run up to, I've ran a 71.
71, unbelievable.
It's honestly as big as the back wheel. That's the thing.
They literally, yeah. So I can imagine how many chain links you have to extend your chain on.
Yeah, that's the. It was funny.
Chains.
We raced Paris one the weekend before, and then Costa Mesa the weekend after, and it was like going from a normal size track to a bull ring, and it's just the differences you have to make. And like everything, it's like it's so much more in the prep because you have to, you like Jerry said, almost add on a whole other chain to make it around that thing. It's so crazy.
Exactly. I believe it. So on a small track like that, you're probably still feathering the clutch going in the corner.
Honestly, there's a couple riders that can do that. I never was able to get that down. Never. Even after racing a couple.
Feathering or what?
Yeah, feathering. I could never get it down. Even after racing the 80cc bikes for a little bit, no way. Could never figure it out. Huh?
Because you got lady hands.
You know what? Guys, let's bring up some of your good stories, huh?
Your dad's a good feather. He knows how to do that stuff. He'll teach you.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is that in the starts, what was crazy is that it goes to Mesa, since you're running such a big gear, it's just like, and the bike will like pick up so high, and then you have to try to manage to get it down all the way. And the only rider that I've seen that can do it really, really, really good is Brock Nickel. Brock Nickel is an amazing starting style, in my opinion. He reminds me a little bit of Magic style, but he lifts a lot out of the start, but drives really hard. He makes amazing starts, and I remember one time he came out of gate 4 at Costa Mesa, and I'm sitting on the wall watching this, what the, and he makes this start, and he's so high up in the air, gets across everybody on the back wheel, and then just full lock up, and then down the back straight, he got the race, and you're just like, the distance from the starting gate to the first corner is the size of my room. It's so small.
Unbelievable. All right, cool. So I always thought Billy would do that. I thought Billy Gennaro would be good at that.
Billy is actually really good at that as well. Billy's bikes. Billy has probably the lowest gearing out of everyone there. People will be running 69, 70. He could be running 62.
Oh, that's weird. But then again, he's behind the front gears are a little different, maybe.
A little bit, but at the same time, all you would hear going down the back straight is "whoa," and he'd be going so fast.
There you go.
So fast.
That's what I was telling you about Thomas's lead and Hans Nielsen's riding style. That he's gluing the back tire to the track.
And he would show up to the track with 5 new tires. 5 new tires. He wouldn't even swap the edge. He would swap the tire. Because he would use almost every inch of that tire. He would stand the bike up so far that he had to take his foot off the peg and push the bike down to get it to grip coming out of the turn. There's so many cool photos where I'm just like, how did he pull that off?
Unbelievable. So
I
always like the we're talking about Billy now. I always like the tricks he always did in Sweden. We'd go out for a beer or whatever, and he was always doing these handstands at the pole. He's the only person I've ever seen who can do that. It doesn't look like he doesn't look like he's strong, burly, like he's not a big like a muscle guy or anything like that. It's just unbelievable. He's got amazing hand strength.
He's the complete opposite of what you would think a speeder rider is, because speeder riders nowadays are so slim, so small, and they need to stay fit and weight cuts, whatever. He goes out there and he manhandles the bike. That thing will pop up and he'll literally drag it down. Coming out of a turn, you've seen so many situations where he's going out so hard and then you can just see his arms just pull the bike down. And everyone's like, sounds good. Want to go have a beer after the race with Billy?
That's it. Exactly.
When I seen him at Costa Mesa, he was like halfway through the bend and just picking it up and wheeling and just playing with the bike. Like he had so much control. Like wheeling. He'd do like half a lap of wheelies, like easy, and holding the flag after he won a race.
That's it.
He was good.
I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened with his career, that something didn't pan out here in Europe with him.
Honestly, I think he just he did good. He did really good over there.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple of really good seasons. He never made it into the World Championship, but I think he did a couple qualifiers, but I don't think he ever made it in. And then honestly, I think he just realized that the Speedway was still quite big over here. He came back and he started winning a lot. He's got 10 national championships now.
Okay.
He's the reigning defending champion, even though we didn't have one last year. He's still the reigning defending champion, and he's just so consistent with his bikes and whatever. And I think he maybe just saw a new side to everything. It's a hard thing to say as a racer, but I mean, he might have just thought, you know what, I'm better over here, or I just feel like it's better. Honestly, we need to have him on the show. We need to talk about that. I've never really figured that out.
That's a trick question. Is it something you can make I'm not saying a big, great living, but a living off of Speedway in the States? Is that possible?
At the moment, no. At the moment, no. Okay. I mean, you need to have really good sponsors.
Okay. So like the prize money is something you're not gonna take home and pay the bills with.
No, at the moment, no. I mean, there's only two tracks running right now. It is Bakersfield and Paris Raceway, and they're both under the same promoter. And the reasoning for that is because they're not county owned. But Bakersfield is county owned, but it's just really open over there. It's not the same. City of Industry is really it's owned by the Grand there, Expo Center. It's owned by that, and they've not had any type of events or anything since March, whatever it was last year. That's the real thing. And then Costa Mesa, same thing over here, Orange County owned. And I believe they're talking, this is only rumors, but I think they're talking about end of July, beginning of August, we're going to be able to have some races there, which is really good. But if you're running Fast Fridays up north, which is also planned to open May 28th, if you're running Fast Fridays every week, if you're running Costa Mesa every race, if you're running Paris every race, you should do decent. If you're a top rider, of course. If you're not, of course, and you're just going there and you're making whatever it is a race, you're probably not going to be able to. But if you're someone like Billy Gennaro or someone like Max Rummel, who's there and always in the main event, always in the final race, you're going to do pretty good. You should be decent.
Okay, well, that's good. What about the situations? This is what I just read. I don't know how that works. I mean, taking COVID aside, obviously, there's something happening in Colorado and Tennessee, and something in New York State, obviously, but
yes.
New York.
New York has been running for quite a while. Jason Bonsignor. I don't know if you guys ever got an offer to go over there, but there's a couple riders who've gotten an offer to go race at his track over there. That track's really cool. It's really deep, but it's an interesting track. It's really small, but he has I think he has two tracks over there. One's called Champion Speedway, and I'm not sure Uwego, I think is the other one. I don't know if they're the same track or not, but I just know there's two names over there. And then there's also one in Tennessee that Kelly Inman has been helping promoting. Who does I know Kelly. City of Industry. He helped out with, Mm-hmm. Yep, he's the promoter for there as well, and he's been doing really good. And I think he has a flat track race coming up there right now. But he's been doing it was a really cool venue. It's a full arena. It's the closest thing you're going to get to something over there, The crowd was not too great. I think it's just because of COVID. They were welcoming crowd last year. But I'm really looking forward to seeing if I get an invite to go over there. They had the best riders in Cali come out, and same from New York, I believe. And they all went there. They had a great time, party it up and whatever. And they did a few races, and it's a start to something big where you're going to be able to race to multiple states. Hardest thing is that just getting equipment over there. You need to keep your equipment over there and fly back and forth, and you need consistent races.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, that's surprising to believe, because I always thought of Speedway in the States as always California, but then when you hear these Tennessee and New York and Colorado, there's something in Colorado as well. I read somewhere. So that's,
yes,
that's
Colorado
happening. So it's all moving up forward, which is great. I don't know how much Billy Hamill is involved in all these things as well, because he's taken over some junior riders. I don't know, does that help in some way or?
Yeah, Billy's doing really good. What he's doing right now is really helping out for the whole community of Speedway. He's been helping out riders, servicing their bikes, teaching them new things, and will always be at most of the tracks. He hasn't come down to a lot of the Paris ones just because it's a ways. You know, he lives up in Auburn. We're almost 80 hours away from there.
Okay.
So, but he's been going to the Bakersfield ones. He's been going to all the ones up north, and he'll go there and he'll have extra fuel ready. He'll have spare parts, tires, whatever you need, you know, just in case for something like that. And he lives, I think, 15 minutes, or his shop is 15 minutes from the track. So if he shows up and it's an hour before the race and someone's like, oh, crap, I need this, he'll be like, I got it for you. I'll send you an invoice later. And then he'll go to the shop and grab it and come back. So, and that's cool. A man of a lot of knowledge too. So it's, I speak very highly of him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that's it. He's been through the ranks as well. So he's been there, done it. So he knows all about Speedway as well. So that's good.
Yeah.
There you go. There's another example of where we were talking about earlier. People with that knowledge, it'd be a shame for him to walk away from the sport completely and do something completely different. If he's got that knowledge, it's better to have it progress onto the youth, to the next generation.
Yeah, exactly. What you said right there is spot on. And I think just him being around the races in general is really good for him as well. Because I mean, he's grown up with it and he's done all of that. And when he was just up north with us, we went to a cool training facility up north, hosted by Steve Martin. And we go and we ride bikes all weekend and stuff. And he was there and he was helping out. And him and my dad were helping this kid, Blake Borello, and a couple others. And we were helping him out. They were helping him out with starts and stuff. And I think Billy pitched in one thing and then Dad pitched in another thing. And he went out and he did it and he did it great. And Billy and Dad just went up, high-fived each other, and we're like, "Yeah, we did it!" You know, it was so cool.
That's it. They had a fantastic. I mean, they obviously they were great mates and best friends. And over here, they had their late '90s. They were just unstoppable. Team Exxon. They had that master with they were one of the first riders who made a team together, which is fantastic. And with the big sponsor they had, and they reeled in those 2 world titles back to back. That was really cool as well. They were
back to back too. It wasn't just
that's it. 96, 97.
Yeah, so cool to watch. I believe Gollob was on the podium. Was he on both of them?
No, 97 he was on the podium. 96 he wasn't. Yeah. Then Tony took over the podium for a few years.
Quite a few.
He was up there.
It was almost enough where you couldn't count them on your own. Well, you can't count them on one hand, that's for sure. You can't. You can almost not count them on both 2 hands.
That's it. I was always laughing in those days. Tuesday we're in the Swedish league, and then every other Saturday was the Grand Prix. And I was like, shit, I hear this national anthem 2 times a week. It's like you kids out at the you hear the Swedish national anthem on the Tuesday, and then Saturday Tony wins the Grand Prix, so you hear the Swedish national anthem again. And then another Tuesday, another Swedish national anthem.
By the end of his career, I think everyone knew the Swedish national anthem.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. That was a rider. That was a guy who was, I think, head and shoulders above all of us.
Oh, easily.
In his day. Maybe not. I'm not saying riding wise, but just the way he organized everything. Talking about people, the riders in the Grand Prix. We would think we had something dialed in, and he'd bring it a whole new level to the sport. I mean, he'd bring things in that we wouldn't even think about. He'd bring things from, I don't know, F1 or IndyCar or NASCAR, just things that just blew our minds. And
we were having a conversation about that. About that, just the fact that he would bring in brand new things, and you're just showing up to the track, and you're just like, "You're gonna try that today?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The good thing, or the thing that made it better for him, worse for us, is because you can bring new things in. That's not a problem. There's one more aspect you have to do with that. You have to win to make it look sense. Because I can bring a square wheel to the pits, not a problem. But if I'm fourth, that doesn't look too good. If I win on that square wheel, I guarantee everyone wants that square wheel, and that's what he did. He brings something new to the sport, and we look at it like, Then he'd go out and win it. I want what he has.
Yeah. We were talking about the hydraulic clutches and stuff like that, and they were saying, I can't remember who it was we was chatting to, but we were talking about hydraulic clutches and are they any good, these new hydraulic clutches? And then I think it was your dad, Wilbur, wasn't he? He was like, yeah, Tony was running them in like the late 90s. I'm like, what? Yeah. And he was, what else was it he was doing? There was loads of things that he had. I remember going to Coventry and seeing...
I can remember a mind game he'd play with us is there was a time where obviously we had the Blixie Carbies, which are still in use today. But then I think Finn Rooney Jensen wanted to bring in this new Carby. And Tony was
floating thing on
without the floats.
Yeah.
Without the float. And I think Jason was one of the few first riders because Jason was cooperating with Finn Rooney back then. He was using it, but it wasn't working. Then Tony tried it, and it was or wasn't working. So what Tony would do, he had Malignac, which is the guys who make the Kevlars for us and the bike covers. He made a special Carby cover to cover up the Carby, and we were just he just played. Sometimes he played mind games like that with us, and where he'd cover the Carby up and he'd go out and win a race. Now we're thinking, is that the Blixie Carby or is it the Finn Rooney one? Maybe I should get a Finn Rooney one. And then it was just we didn't know what to do, and he was doing his own thing, and he was already ahead of us right there.
Yeah, I remember watching a long track meeting, and Calvin Tatum and Gerd Riss, when they went into their pit bays, they were in a full sealed tent, so you couldn't see nothing. They didn't let anything out what they were doing, and it was like you were absolutely dying to see what was inside there. You know,
it probably even was nothing. Yeah, probably nothing.
They were probably doing absolutely nothing, but because you can't see, you're like.
But it's a mind game. It's a mind game.
Yeah.
Instead of about thinking about your riding, your bike, and what you have, you're thinking what he has, and he's already beat you by the time you get to the tapes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of those mind games for you.
Yeah.
So Tony was always head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, I remember going to Coventry and seeing that massive motorhome that he had with the big purple bus.
Yep.
Wow, is this guy come from a different sport? Like,
that's it. Now try to imagine that in Poland, early 90s, in the south eastern part of Poland, which is Tarnów. Your dad rode for Tarnów, Wilbur. That was amazing. I mean, that bus looked like it was like the Space Shuttle Columbia landed in the pits. I mean, the guy's got a huge mobile home, and you got 3 bikes out there, mechanics who are dressed to the T with the team clothes and stuff like that. He's already won the meeting right there. He's already got 10 points right from just that, because you're not going to beat him, right? That was just one of those little things that Tony could do. He was always ahead of everyone.
So cool.
So before we go, we spoke about this earlier on this morning, but do you want to explain what happened here with Ty and why everyone's laughing so much?
All right, this is a very good one as well. This is a 2000, I believe, 15, and the Elite League, which is the Elite League, the whole institution here for Poland, the Elite League clubs. They're making a promotional advert for the future, for the beginning of the season, and they invited us to Warsaw to one of the golf courses, and they got this big huge TV company who are preparing this advertisement, and they're taking shoots and the riders doing individual interviews, etc. And one of the situations was that the rider would go hide behind one of the bunkers, and they're supposed to come out like whenever the director of the movie, the shoot would say action, they would come out from over the bunker and walk towards the camera like the gladiators, and they're angry at the season's about to begin and whatever. And they did a few of these takes, and after take 10 or take 12 or take 15, Ty was already, I guess, a little bored with it, and they went behind the bunkers, and no one knew what was happening. And there's a bunch of people, like, you know, when they make movies, you know how there's the makeup person and the TV people and the lighting people. So there's about like 30, 40 people behind the cameras. I'm one of them as well, just hanging out, watching how they're making this movie. And Ty gets naked, completely bare naked, just takes his helmet, covers himself up, and just okay, and action. And the guys were already laughing behind the bunker, so they didn't say what he's doing. they walk up and Ty's just walking towards the camera. It was hilarious. It was a hilarious situation. That's Ty for you.
And none of the crew knew anything about it.
No. It was just that was complete Ty for you. He just went and did his own thing there, right there. Just
pull that picture up again. I want to see who was there.
It's Magic's there. Thomas is there, I think. Emil Saifudinov is there, and I don't know who the guy in the back is.
Looks maybe like maybe Laguda. No, not Laguda.
No.
It looks like a Lejno. No. I wonder what team that is.
Anyway, brilliant.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah. So, real.
This is what we want to get out of people. We want to get all these stories of all these funny situations and hear all the things. So, but Thomas, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I hope Tomasz Gollob watches the show and he appreciates, all of the stories and all the things. I'm sure he's as proud of himself as what we all are of him. It's amazing.
Yeah,
he definitely is. Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. And anytime you guys want to just talk shop, I'm always here. So whatever's convenient for you guys, just let me know. But it was an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk about the past and, like I said, a little bit about the future and everything. So Speedway is a passion, and I is a passion that's still in me, and of course still in Thomas to this day.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
All right, thank you very much. We'll speak to you soon. If you stay there, we'll speak to you after the show's finished.
Yeah, sure. Great. Thank you guys. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. What's going on here? How come you're bigger than me?
Oh,
there we go.
Because I'm cooler than you. That's why. Well, that was awesome. That was really cool.
That was great. Yeah. So, again, I just want to say a massive thanks to everybody that helps us out with the Speedway Chat Show and with the bike build. And this Sunday, go over to Grass Track Banter, and you'll be able to watch a live stream of some grass track meetings. 60 heats, goes from 12 o'clock till 5. I got a feeling 5 or 6 o'clock. So it's gonna be a long day of lots of racing, but it should be a good one. And the weather's great. So yeah.
What more to ask for?
And you can watch it from the beer gardens if you're in the UK.
Yeah, I heard about that. Congrats to the UK. Finally opened up.
Yeah. Well, you're not allowed inside the pub. You're only allowed outside. But yeah, wicked. Right. Well, we will see you. So there's no show on Wednesday. It's going to be the following Wednesday now. Unless you want to do a show on Wednesday. You don't want to do a show on Wednesday, do you, Will?
I'm in Palm Springs. I'm going to be out by the pool. No show on Wednesday.
I want to go to Palm Springs.
There you go.
Cool. Right. So So next week we will get back to you and let you know who's going to be on the show. And tonight was a good one. We'll see you all soon. Adios. Bye.
Peace.